Welcome to the Plant Trainers Podcast, where we're helping people improve their quality of life through nutrition and fitness. And now, your hosts, nutrition and wellness coaches, international speakers, Adam and Shoshana Chaim.
Hey, I'm Adam Chaim.
And I'm Shoshana Chaim, and we are
Propelled by Plants. Today we bring to you episode 326, Understanding Redox Molecules with Aviva and Dr. Zilia Goreshnik.
In this episode of the Plant Trainers Podcast, we talk with Dr. Zilia Goreshnik and Aviva Goreshnik. They are both experts in the biotechnology of redox signaling molecules. Redox signaling molecules have been studied by really big universities, and more universities are popping up with research centers that are designating specifically to that. We all know that nutrition plays a huge part in impacting our cellular health, but we also need to recognize that we live and die at the cellular level and that our cells live and die at the redox level. Redox signaling molecules are responsible for cellular communication, detecting, protecting, repairing, and replacing our cells. They work as the laborers inside our body that take all that good plant-based nutrition and put it to work to help our cells be whole and to help make sure that we're fighting against illness, that we're fighting against hormonal imbalance, that athletes are performing at their peaks. So we share a little bit of the science behind it. We share stories about how supplementing with a redox signaling molecule has not only changed lives, but given lives back again.
Dr. Zilia Goreshnik graduated in 1969 in Russia as a medical doctor who specialized in pediatrics. Later, she moved to Israel as a consulting pediatrician for special cases in children. She practiced pediatrics for 15 years and published numerous articles in international journals and lectured in various seminars. She then went on to pass the Canadian Evaluation Examination for Foreign Medical Doctors in Canada and became a professor in the College of Naturopathic Medicine. And now, as a doctor of naturopathy, she continues to work with students in the college and the office. After more than 50 years of practicing medicine, she successfully helped hundreds of people to regain their health and a better quality of life.
Aviva Goreshnik is an ASEA executive overseeing a network of over 3,000 individuals dedicated to changing the world. And she has vast product knowledge on these redox signaling molecules and how it can benefit virtually anyone, irrespective of symptoms or the situation that they're in. She has helped hundreds get their lives back. And really, these are people who thought that there were no other place to go, including plant-based people as well. She's been applauded for her innovative entrepreneurial approach. She's won multiple awards for her outstanding performance, and she is recognized as ASEA's premier voice centered here in Canada.
This is a very powerful podcast episode that you really need to share with anyone in your life who's not yet living their best self. Even if they've resisted your plant-based approach before, this can be a standalone tool for anyone's body to heal regardless of their lifestyle. If you'd like to know more about these products or even try it yourself, send us a text to 1-416-523-2245 and just mention this podcast, and we'll be there to support you and help you through this process. And now for a moment of gratitude.
Today, I'm grateful for life, for the ability to walk, and the ability to smile.
I'm grateful to be able to be outdoors in this weather in October and enjoy the colors of the changing leaves during this fall.
We are so lucky to have our guests in-house today in the Plant Cave. We have Dr. Zilia Goreshnik and her daughter Aviva Goreshnik here with us. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
We'd love to know if you have a moment of gratitude that you'd like to share with us. Dr. Zilia, would you like to start?
The moment of gratitude, I have the beautiful people, my patients, to whom I'm devoted, and I would not like to live one day in my life without them. So thank you to all people who are with me for 35 years, or even more, because I'm 50 years a doctor. So
it's
I'm
wonderful.
Very lucky.
You're such a dedicated doctor. You care so much about your patients, and it's beautiful to see. So thank you for that. I'm grateful for that. Aviva, do you have a moment to share with us?
So I feel that I'm a strong woman because a strong woman raised me, and for that I'm grateful each and every day. I am so excited and grateful to be here and doing this with my mom.
It's really nice. It's nice. It's beautiful to have both of you here, 2 generations, and we're going to have a wonderful conversation. And I really do think that a lot of our listeners are really going to be educated in a way that they haven't necessarily been before. They haven't necessarily heard about some of the things that we're going to talk about before. So I'm very excited, the same way that I was so excited the first time we came on the show to start telling people about plant-based diet and everything that we've found and researched over the years and how our lives have changed. I'm very excited to share a lot with our listeners today. So before we do talk about some of those kind of things, Dr. Zilia, tell us a little bit about your history. You were an MD, you are an MD, a medical doctor, and you were practicing in Russia, is that right?
Yeah. 50 years ago, I was graduated from Russian medical school and became a medical doctor. In those times, medical doctors were treating all. Specialists were very, very rare. And I later, when I migrated to Israel, and 10 years I practiced in Israel, I did my PhD in pediatrics. I became a specialist, a consulting specialist. And I worked 10 years in Israel and immigrated to Canada. And in Canada, I, as a PhD, I started to teach. I was teaching in the College of Naturopathic Medicine, where I fell in love with homeopathy, naturopathy. And there was an accelerated course for 3 years for medical doctors on weekends. So in 3 years, I got my license as a naturopathic doctor. And here I am. For 35 last years, I do naturopathy and I work with students. I teach differential diagnosis and pediatrics. So I'm both a medical doctor and a naturopathic doctor. And it helps.
Is there a difference between naturopathy and homeopathy?
And naturopathy, it's an umbrella. Umbrella under what is homeopathy, acupuncture, even a massage or any modalities. What happen for healing, they are under this umbrella. So naturopathic doctor, it is, you had to go 1.5 years of Chinese medicine, acupuncture, and homeopathy. Homeopathy is just a tool.
So is there a big difference you find between the practice in Russia and Israel and the practice here in Canada? And was there something keeping you from wanting to continue the medical route?
Medical profession in Russia, it's very close to naturopathy. Maybe it was half a century back, because today everything changed. Maybe in Russia now different they treat too. But in this time, a lot of homeopathic or herbal solutions, what I use now, I used in Russia as a medical doctor. It was absolutely normal to go to the apothec, what is a little pharmacy, and to ask for prescription on a herb or on medication. And it was probably 80% of herbs they would sell and 20% of medication. It was time that we used antibiotic very, very rare.
And how do you feel about how antibiotics react in the body or how pharmaceuticals react in the body?
You cannot cheat the nature. In the nature, everything mutates. If you use the antibiotic 2-3 times, your bug is mutating to another strain, and it will not work. So you cannot say no to antibiotic. God forbid something happened and you have to save somebody's life. But to prescribe antibiotics left and right and center, it is not a solution, and it is a very, very bad ending to resistance. And people come to the point that they cannot take antibiotic because it's not working on them.
And what about gut health and microbiome?
That's exactly what happens, because the antibiotic kills good bacteria and bad bacteria, and then everything what a person eat, it stays. It's not digested. So the thing is, antibiotic sure is guilty in many leaking guts, irritable bowel syndromes, or SIBO, what is now a new diagnosis. It's small intestine bacteria overgrowth, and really doctors don't know what to do with it. Because a little bit of a nervous, a little bit of used antibiotics, a little bit of allergy to foods, a little bit of everything. But people cannot get rid of it.
So it sounds like antibiotics are being overprescribed.
They everything what confuses the immune system will have a very bad side effect. And to me, the problem started when the medicine was divided, the organs given to each specialist one organ. The nature did not mean this way. The nature has 12 months in a year, and a human has 12 organs. The nature has 365 days in a year, and then nature has 365 vessels we have, right?
That's so interesting. I never made that connection before.
Yeah, 4 seasons and 4 extremities we have. And so the head is round we have, and the earth is round, right? So
and the earth spins round and round, and sometimes my head spins round and round.
Yeah. And when the medicine got to the point to take these 12 organs and give to 12 doctors, so the head went to psychiatrist, and heart to cardiologist, and liver to gastrologist, and lung to pulmonologist, and skin to dermatologist. It was not enough. They divided on systems after. So the nervous system, peripheral, what to do with it? It will be a neurologist responsible. And what to do with the bones? There are many. So it will be a rheumatologist.
I always find that to be a problem, where it's a different doctor for different parts of the body, and one's giving you a prescription for this medication, this one's giving a different one for this one.
They don't even check what it is sometimes.
It's a huge problem. So for the people listening, if they're being prescribed antibiotics, which is being overprescribed, how do they know if they should or they shouldn't be listening to the doctor?
It works like in a setting like this. You come with your liver medication. You have a pill, you are ill, the doctor has a pill. You have a bug, the doctor has a drug. So doesn't matter. You give him a symptom, he gives you a pill. And it works in the beginning because liver gets somehow under control. And it is not healing the liver, but palliative covering the liver.
But then something else gives out.
And then after a while, the dose has to be increased, another medication has to be added, and the person starts to have burning urination because the kidneys cannot get out this medication. I comes to the same doctor and say, "Doctor, I have problems with my urine." And doctor says, "Sorry, it's not my department.
You gotta go to the urologist.
I will send you to a wonderful urologist, and he will solve your problem."
In 3 months' time.
But they don't ever solve the problem. They just put a blanket on it. They cover the issue. They don't deal with the underlying cause. So most of the time, the underlying cause is started at the cell level, right? The cellular level.
Yeah, that's the whole trick.
So you mentioned immune system before. Do you think that overprescriptions or overtaking of antibiotics is part of the reason why we're finding so many people with autoimmune disorders these days?
It is exactly because the immune system, it's when we will speak about Redox, we will get to the point. It is exactly when the immune system does not hear this signal, okay? When immune system hears the signal, it's okay guys, here is okay. The cells are okay. But now imagine yourself somebody aging and dries up the cells, and the cell does not have enough redox. The immune system doesn't catch a signal. The immune system doesn't go there. And then the signal can be weak, and then not at all a signal in a cancer cell, because cancer cell is a very inflamed cell coated by mucus, but by by a lot of mucus coat. Immune system does not see the cell. So the immune system in a while doesn't know where to go. So it starts to fight itself, her own cells. It is autoimmune.
So, I think that we can all agree that we live and die at the cellular level, and if we begin to have the breakdown of our cells because of external life, because of all of these prescriptions that we're getting, the body starts to break down, and that allows all of these other diseases to start to grow within the body.
Yeah, the cells, you mean the cells break down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if we go to the cells break down as it is. They have a lifespan. The cell does not live forever. As a human does not live forever, right? So the cell has a lifespan. Yeah, in younger people, the lifespan is longer. In older people, the lifespan is shorter. But even the cell is absolutely okay, what is a very not existing condition in regular life. So people have allergies, and people have infections, and people have stress, and people don't eat right, and people don't drink enough water, and people don't have enough salt. Everything makes the lifespan of the cell less, and it breaks.
I want to get back to this, so I'm going to put a little pin in that, because I wanted to ask Aviva what it was like growing up with a mom who's so knowledgeable. And I think that you were, before I even knew what organic was, I think you grew up with a very organic lifestyle. And talk to us a little bit about how you grew up and where pharmaceuticals played a role in your life.
So pharmaceuticals were never an option for us. We had to do everything naturally. At times as a kid, it was hard to understand why. It looked like it was the harder way, the longer way. It was just more difficult. Results took longer, and there was a lot more effort. I used to fight my parents on it a little bit because they were pretty strict. But prevention was always a very big part of our life, and everything that we did from the lifestyle that we had in terms of the food that we ate, the emphasis on, making sure that you're physically active and that you're getting fresh air and that you're using products that are good for you. All of this stuff really sometimes made me crazy as a teenager growing up in the home. But now, I'm so grateful for it because I can see how I'm living a different life because of the way that I grew up. And that was really, really enforced by my parents.
I think everything from your outlook on life, your hair is so thick, and you're blessed with thick hair. But I also think because you weren't exposed to all of these allergens and pathogens and toxic substances that we were as kids, that your body was just able to adapt, and your microbiome's stronger, not getting sick as much, all of these things. We all have stress in our lives. We all have stressful periods in our lives. But to be able to grow up knowing these things that a lot of us and the listeners are only figuring out now as adults, it's really a blessing.
It is. It truly is.
So you were talking about water and you were talking about salt, and we're going to be talking about Redox. And I actually used to work at a school. A lot of people know that I used to be a teacher, and I worked with your other daughter, Maya. And Maya gave me 2 books of yours, and I read them. And this was right around the time that I was starting to really understand more about the medical system and what was really important, what needed to be important to me and my family. And in both of your books, you really hit home and you really talked about the importance of salt and water. And we all know that, majority of the body is made up of water, but we're told not to have too much sodium. So can you explain to us a little bit about where those help us stay balanced?
Yeah. Talking about my kids, they used to go to school with a little bit of salt, like in a little container. And I will ask him, because the hands are not clean, put it on the back of the hair and lick. And I don't remember somebody from my children 53 years old, so I have grandchildren 27 years old. I don't remember who is from grandchildren, but I think this boy 27, he was a kid, and he used to say, people will think it's cocaine. I say, I don't care. but you do it. And you know, my kids didn't ever. For my kids, aspirin is already a big issue to take.
Like even being a mother myself, I absolutely refuse to give my son any sort of, pharmaceutical medication. I try the alternative route for everything. It's more energy, it's more time, but for me, it's the only way.
So I wrote in my books about salt and water, and really I wrote about salt and water in my third book, what's coming out now. So salt and water. Water, it is an element, the second after oxygen. And water is so important because we contain 85% of water and only 25% of solid material in our body. So, but water is taken for granted with people. Why? Because it's freely available, and people, when they don't buy and don't pay money, they probably forget about. So many diseases, and now more than 50%, it is dehydration. It's dehydration of the cell. So when the cell is dehydrated, we have symptoms. And it's not recognized symptom in medicine. Because what the doctor tries to tell to the patient, he doesn't mention water, but he mentions salt. And he says, be careful, no salt. So the patient, water and salt, no, because I have blood pressure, I am a diabetic, I take medication, salt for me is prohibited. Now, when everybody can ask himself a question. What happens when really bad happens? A stroke, a heart attack, a car accident or something, ambulance brings you to the hospital. What they get first? Salt and water.
The saline solution.
Intravenous saline. How bad salt and water can be if the first thing to save somebody's life is saline.
And it doesn't matter if they have a heart problem, it doesn't matter if they have high blood pressure, if they have fatty liver, it's still saline.
Yeah. If we go to the stomach has a few layers of mucosa. The first layer produces acid. The second layer produces soda, bicarbonate. Now, down to this, pancreas produces enzymes. And liver, from the right side, opposite to pancreas, produces bile. Gallbladder. So, when the food passes the acid first, the acid has to break. From what the acid is made? Water, H2O, plus natrium chloride, salt. So if you take H from water and chloride from the salt, you have H-chlor, hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid is gastric juice, made from salt and water. If salt and water not enough, the food is not digested. But when you have acidic food and acid too much, then acid, with what the doctors fight with anti-acid medications. And they all cause cancer. Because you interfere with the main thing, what digests your food and your nutrients. Because underneath is a soda. It's easier to show when you write. It's a soda layer. So whatever too much acid here, this layer has to neutralize. And then it goes through the enzymes, and then through bile. Bile dissolves the fat, and enzymes dissolve carbohydrates and proteins, and there is lipase proteins for protein, an enzyme, and for fat, an enzyme, and for carbs, an enzyme. So God made everything clear. We created the chaos.
So if we're living lives where we have a lot of emotional stress, physical stress, we've been malnourished or maybe overfed but undernourished, or we've been dehydrated or haven't had enough of the nutrients in our diet, our body will begin to break down and our cells will begin to break down, and also through all of these pharmaceuticals like we talked about, cellular health essentially begins to break down, and we find that we're getting all of these different diseases. So I wanted to talk about a little bit about redox signaling molecules, because that's something that has been new in terms of, the last century or even the last couple of decades. I believe it was in 1998 that they actually won the Nobel Peace Prize for discovering redox signaling molecules in the body and its relationship to disease. And
it was 28, okay. At your age, 17, you were 17. How many years ago?
So when I was 17 years old, we went to Italy for a convention, and it was the first time that my mom and I
Redox.
were sitting in the conference room, and we were talking about redox signaling molecules. I don't remember this at all because I was probably listening to music or something.
just wanted to go shopping.
I just wanted to go shopping, but my mother was there and she was fascinated with it, and it was much before, this whole awareness of redox signaling molecules being everywhere right now.
Started when she was 17. By her age, I know how many years it started. And the first professor who read about it, it was Dr. John Ionesco from Bucharest. They after took him to Germany, and he came from Berlin to do this conference. And very often it's such a funny coincidence, because he was a big friend of her. He became there. Well, were very few kids came with doctors. We were 300 doctors from 12 countries. So it's how it started. So to me, redox signaling is not a new thing.
But for our listeners who may not have heard that term, so what is redox signaling molecules? What does it mean?
And they may have actually heard that there was a redox conference just recently in Paris, and that in the United States, some of the dentist symposiums are talking about it too. So explain to them what it is.
So in the middle of every cell, there is a tiny little factory, what we call mitochondria. Mitochondria is a factory what takes the chemical energy, chemical nutrients of food, and converts to electricity, to electrons. And we are cordlessly, we function, we are moving, talking, blinking with the eyes, chewing. Where we take this electricity? It is the electricity. And if compare, what is the difference between dead and alive person? One stays, one on the floor. Why? He has the same organs as we have. Why he is dead? He finished his electricity. There is no electricity anymore. So this electricity was a very questionable thing for a long time, because some say, I don't believe in energy, it is all voodoo, and another said, how without energy we survive. So when ECG was invented, 100 years they did not even accept it, because it was saying the heart has electricity, we have to record it, we have to monitor it, we can do it. And then accepted, and we started to monitor this pump, the heart. But even when heart stops, we use high voltage, 600 microvolt of voltage, to start the heart again. So yes, we electrical device, right? And this electricity comes from mitochondria. Very interesting that the cells, they have a little life on their own. They breathe, they need oxygen. They drink, they need water. They eat, they need nutrition. They eliminate, and it is detox. And they communicate. And then they multiply, and they can die. The same what the body does. But the cell does it, every cell does it separate. So from everything is clear. Good nutrition, good cell, salt and water, the cell needs to be pumped up. Redox molecules, actually it is a redox and oxidation of a reduction of saline. It is clear, it's chemically. But the company what made it very successfully, intracellular fluid, what every cell has, it calls ASEA. It is a redox signaling molecule because ASEA is in every cell, and mitochondria has ROS, it's redox oxidative system, what sends a signal. So if no salty water, the signal would not pass. Water is a conductor. And now, if saline surrounds the cell, it can shrink the cell because it's a wave, like an ocean. It beats the cell. Now we need something that beats opposite. Inside, internally in the cell, there is a milder salty solution, what has an opposite wave, and it is the redox molecule, what makes a signal. So this wave and saline wave, and they make the signal to the immune system, and the immune system knows that here is everything okay.
So what happens if we don't have those redox molecules in the
The
body?
immune system doesn't hear you. You get autoimmune disease of any kind. And this signal we are having very clear for the immune system. When a child is young, the younger children have more. The older children starts to lose it a little. And after age of 45 starts the process of aging. And we dry up the cell. We don't have enough redox signaling liquid in the cell, intracellular fluid. Why many conditions and diseases come when a person is aging? Just for lack of this intracellular fluid. If we would add the intracellular fluid to every cell, the aging would be very, very slow. And the diseases and conditions would not be so dramatic, because what happens if we don't correct the situation, every condition goes in a chronic state. And a chronic state is very difficult to heal, because we use a palliative method just to suppress.
So essentially the mitochondria is using the saline that's already in the body to produce these redox signaling molecules.
It uses, but the process is slowing down with age, unavoidable.
Right, so we produce less and less, and the reason why we need these redox molecules is A, for signaling between the cells so that the body can function better, whether it's neurologically talking to each other, musculatory system talking to each other, and then the cells begin to deflate over time without these redox molecules. So
as the skin, the skin dies off and peels off, and new skin comes. It's a recycling process constantly is going on in nature and in us.
Right.
And so if the cell is dying very fast, and the body doesn't have ability to replace it, we are shrinking as
people actually do physically shrink
a
over
little
time.
old lady or a little old man, we say, right?
I don't want to be either. I don't want to be a little old lady or a little old man.
Absolutely not.
So these, we know that the cells die off, and we know that cells become damaged, and we know that the body's constantly replacing cells. But if we don't have nice, big, round, beautiful cells, then they're duplicating, but we're duplicating damaged cells. So without enough redox signaling molecules, we're actually not detecting, repairing, and replacing the cells at a fast enough speed to stop the aging or stop the illness process.
The thing to understand and remember, if we improve communication between cells and communication with the immune system, we solve a lot of trouble in the human body. And in order to have this communication with the immune system, we need intracellular fluid. We need this, by name ASEA liquid, what is not enough in our cells. And when people don't understand and say, it's too good to be true. But it is exactly what happened. The immune system is there like a radar. And what more signals immune system gets, immune system is happy to help to every cell when it's needed. But when you confuse the immune system with medication, with dehydration of the cells, with stress, with not right nutrition, with not right amount of salt, but salt holds the water. Salt holds the water. Without salt, there is no electrical wave. Look the ocean. Ocean doesn't stay. The wave is constantly going. So if you want to create electricity in the cell and the cell to be healthier and younger, you need this electrical charge, salt.
So the redox signaling molecules are not too good to be true. That's science. That's biochemistry. What's kind of too good to be true is the fact that this company, ASEA, has found a way to reproduce it outside the body and have people supplement it in their body and change their lives completely. So Aviva, tell us what happens in the body. So Dr. Goreshnik was talking about the body making the redox. Can you tell us a little bit more about what happens over time and redox in the body?
So redox signaling is a function that's central to all life on the planet. Redox signaling molecules are created within every cell of the body and are vital to the immune system and to cellular healing mechanisms. A proper supply of redox signaling molecules enables cellular healing, where damaged, dysfunctional cells fade away and healthy, vibrant cells take over. So redox signaling molecules are vital for our health of the cells. We know that. That's why your body makes its own supply. But what happens after the age of 12, our cells make fewer and fewer of these molecules, and that's when things start to break down in our body. So when we supplement with redox with the proper amount that's needed for our body, these symptoms that we're talking about, they all go away. I've seen people in wheelchairs being able to walk again, and I've seen tumors shrink and go away, and I've seen children being able to communicate and function better. I have seen so many incredible things happen when people supplement with redox signaling molecules.
I've seen Olympic athletes go from 5th place to 1st place.
Yes.
It's crazy what happens in the body. And you're talking about how we produce less over time, but I think that the lives that we've had play into that too. So on average, it would be 10% less every 10 years. But somebody who doesn't deal as well with emotional stress, or who's had a car accident, or lost a loved one at a younger age, or was maybe in an abusive relationship,
Or simply aging,
or
dry up.
right. So they're going to produce even less. And I kind of think of it like a garden, right? Let's say you plant the exact same garden every year, but every year you only get 10% less. You get 1% less water to be able to water it. Eventually, either you're going to get smaller tomatoes, smaller cucumbers, smaller green peppers, or you're not going to get any tomatoes and you're just going to get the other vegetables. So if we don't have enough redox in our body begins to break down. We get wrinkles, we get autoimmune diseases, we don't perform as well in athletics. And the place of nutrition is huge, right? I think proper nutrition really helps support the body to create a lot more of this redox. But if we've already had a past, or we want to do even better than we're doing now, or we want to actually reverse the aging process as much as possible.
To retard the aging, probably. To
slow it down.
Yeah.
To slow it down. But I've seen...
But also, when you supplement with redox, you're absorbing the nutrition from the actual food that you're eating at a much higher level. So there's so many advantages. There's so many advantages to supplementing with redox and being able to be better in all these other areas of your life.
And it's not something that you're gonna get from food. This is not a material that you're taking into the body. It's something the body...
It is vital for the system, yeah.
Right. So if we are eating all these great nutrients, but they're not bioavailable in the body, and we're literally flushing them down the toilet, to get back to toilet talk, like it's that we had before the conversation started, it's a waste, and we can be so much healthier than we are today.
In order for mitochondria to make electricity, mitochondria has to collect electrons, and electrons come from food would donate electrons. Only raw food, only raw vegetables and fruits, organically grown, can donate electrons to mitochondria. Food what is cooked, food what is processed, don't have electron donating ability. So electricity will be produced less. And the first symptom, guess what will be? I'm tired. I'm tired. And the aging by itself makes people tired. But if they add redox signaling molecule, they might be very surprised that they are not tired.
So one of the three biggest complaints I have from my clients is that they're tired, that they can't sleep well, and that they have stress and anxiety.
Yeah. And the brain contains 85% of water, and the brain does not know. Look in the hospital what we do. The brain, to satisfy the brain, you need a little bit of sugar, we all know, right? And salt. So what in the hospital happens when we don't have a diagnosis yet? We don't know what with a person. He is in bad condition. We put saline, we put next to it a little bit of dextrose, and it is all diluted in water. And the brain will take whatever it needs. And everybody is better. So the brain works on the brain works on a little bit of sugar, but a lot of salt. Your tears are salty. When you're emotional, what do you cry? You cry salt and water?
So the saline that you're being given in the hospital, essentially, tell me if I'm on the right track, the body would need to take that saline, still bring it into the cells, still convert it into the redox to be able to help the body. But when we supplement with redox directly, because there's a company that is highly patent and has figured out how to create this redox exactly from saline, exactly the same, bioidentical to what we have in our body. So instead of our body wasting energy on taking the saline like we get in the hospital and converting it, we're putting it directly into our body, allowing the body to detect, replace, and repair cells on a much higher and faster level.
That's the thing. Saline is extracellular fluid, what has much more salt than redox signaling, what is intracellular fluid, inside of cell, what has much less salt. It's close to our tears, the solution of salt. And okay, the person gets to the hospital, gets saline, and gets medications, whatever. And did you see happy person coming out from the hospital? I for 50 years did not see. I saw a surviving person comes
survival
out.
mode.
Yeah, he survived. And everybody is happy that he survived. But do we see an energetic and happy person coming out from the hospital? No. But I think if people would understand redox signaling molecule and they would take this fluid on daily basis, then it will help not to get to the hospital. Then it will help you not to survive, but live fully your life.
Aviva, what are the different categories where it can actually help change people's lives?
I mean, the physical aspects, in terms of health, in terms of beauty, in terms of endurance, in terms of energy, athletics. There's just so many areas. It affects every single aspect of the body. Anything that has cells will be affected. So, whether it's a child, a plant, a pet, it affects everyone and everything.
So when I first met Aviva, I was in a place, and for those of you who have been listening for a long time, you may have heard me say, and this is even around the time where we had interviewed Josh Lajani, because nobody listens to Josh Lajani and doesn't want to go for a run immediately. So you may have heard me say that I was not able to run for quite a long time, and going for a run within a couple of days, I would be in a full-blown cold and my body wouldn't be functioning properly. And it kept happening over and over again, and I convinced myself that it wasn't a pattern. But listen to Josh Lajani, or interviewed Josh Lajani, went for a run the next morning. Within 48 hours, I was sick again. And I was actually I had an adrenal issue, I had a cortisol issue, and I had been to a Chinese medicine doctor for probably about a year, spent thousands of dollars twice a week, driving to his office, lying there for an hour and a half, driving home, the anxiety of not being home and working and all of these other things. And I couldn't do for myself what I was able to do for so many of you listening, and for so many of my clients. Despite eating well, despite doing yoga, despite meditation, I had spent my whole life on antibiotics from the time I was 3 years old until my early 30s. Really ear infections, throat infections, sinus infections over and over again. And I think my body is really still recovering from all of that. But when I met Aviva, I was at the point where I was saying, I can't find any of my answers in my plant-based world. I had been okay, and then from stress and anxiety, I had broken down again. And I came and I learned about these redox molecules, and I learned that they were 100% non-toxic, that there's absolutely no possible negative reaction that could happen in the body, that Olympic athletes are allowed to take this. It's on the short list of what is sanctioned for them to take. And I had heard so many other people's stories, from everything from atypical cells to pains in their feet to pains and discomfort in their back, what have you. And I was just said, well, if there's any chance, then I want in. And it was so much cheaper than my acupuncture. And I said, okay, I'm going to try this. And within 3 weeks, my naturopath at the time was saying to me, wow, I've really never seen people rebound the way that you have. She had heard of this redox signaling molecule. She had heard of ASEA and said, go ahead, I support you on it, but I don't know what's really going to happen. And the outcome was outstanding for me. And then I had clients who were plant-based, weren't making any more progress. And then people with neurological disorders who were walking again without their walkers. I had moms who were sad and crying and had no energy, who were able to take care of their families again, who were able to make those strides the way that I had. And being able to go into my toolbox of nutrition, my toolbox of mindset and meditation, and now use these redox molecules to help people who otherwise wouldn't have an answer, has just been a blessing in my life. Aviva, talk to us a little bit about I've helped market this in the last year or so. You've been helping people for longer than I have. Tell us a little bit about how this has changed your life and other people's lives.
So the fulfillment I experience through helping others is emotionally and spiritually gratifying. I'm able to help others without being a doctor. That is just so cool. Knowing that I'm a catalyst for good in the world by sharing Redox pushes me to engage enthusiastically every single day, as it just gives me so much purpose. Watching people get their lives back is so rewarding. I mean, I've even seen the change in you, Shoshana. You've come so far. I feel that I'm a different person now. I have spent the last 15 years in a classroom teaching teenagers and being on a schedule. And now I'm free to follow my heart and my dreams and spend more time with my family and just be free to pursue bigger and better things in the world while looking and feeling fantastic thanks to Redox. So it's really, really changed my life a lot.
Is there any symptom that you have heard of yet that the supplementation of redox signaling molecules has not been able to help improve?
No, because with enough time on Redox, on the amount that is needed for your body, drinking proper amounts of water to make sure that your body is going through the detox process and eliminating these bad cells, supplementing with the ASEA producing these good healthy cells, the body goes back into balance and these conditions and symptoms simply go away.
Can I add a little bit here? It depends in what stage the system when they start to drink this ASEA supplement. The body has to get rid of the toxicity and to the broken cells. And all the detox usually goes through the kidneys. So while the kidneys are detoxing, this little time being could be a little bit of I call it healing crisis, but it can be a little bit blood pressure higher, not serious, but can be, okay? And it is not a dangerous thing because you minimize the dose, you drink more water, and you help the system to detox. And then it comes back normal.
That's
because the salt in the bottle of ASEA amount of salt like in 3 carrots, not more. So this amount of salt cannot create the blood pressure.
So Aviva, if there are coaches who are saying, I can help my athletes do better, if there are health coaches saying, I've tried everything for some of my clients and maybe this is an answer, if there are people who want to be able to try this themselves, what do you recommend for them to do to find out more?
Really, if I were you, I would contact Shoshana to find out more about this incredible emerging technology that's going to shape our lives in the coming years. She's an expert. She's done so much research on the subject, and she'd be able to help a lot of people.
So thank you for saying that. So what I'll do is, of course, everybody knows that they could always email us at info@planttrainers.com or reach out on Instagram at Plant Trainers or Plant Trainers on Facebook. I am happy to make a meeting with you and talk to you a little bit more about it, show you some of the research that you can explore yourself. And what I've been able to help people do is just so incredible. And I feel so blessed between, like I said before, between my experience with nutrition and with mindset and now with redox signaling molecules. I'm just happy to talk to anybody about it, and there would be a free consultation. Just let us know that you heard it here.
I know I haven't said a lot, and I've been sitting here for a while listening to the three of you talk about this redox signaling molecules, and it's really impressive all the knowledge that you have and that you're sharing with everybody who's listening. And I just wanted to thank you for coming here to talk to us today, because the information that you're sharing, I'm going to have to go back and re-listen to it, and so are the people listening, but the information is literally life-changing. So thank you so much for being here today on the Plant Trainers podcast and sharing all this great information.
So can I leave you with a thought?
Absolutely.
If you don't make time for your wellness, you'll be forced to make time for your illness. So choose to be educated before you choose to be medicated. Thanks so much for having us.
Love it.
Thank you all so much for listening to this edition of the Plant Trainers podcast. We want to make sure that you subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, or any other podcasting platform.
We really appreciate the feedback we receive from you. Every time we get a 5-star rating or review on iTunes from one of our fans, it really helps other people find us just like you did.
Thanks so much to our patrons. To become a patron, visit us at patreon.com/planttrainers. Even supporting us with $1 really makes a difference in the quality of the show.
And don't forget to connect with us on Instagram and Twitter. Our handle is @PlantTrainers. Like Plant Trainers on Facebook, join our newsletter, and check out our website at planttrainers.com for awesome recipes, a list of our services, and of course, our latest podcast.
We encourage you to email your questions to info@planttrainers.com so that we can help you improve your quality of life through nutrition and fitness.
So we hope we've inspired you today. Join us again next time, and have a healthy day. Or is that too corny?
It's a little cheesy.